Okay, thanks for tuning in. Today we are going to cover each three of us what we do financially, business wise, and entrepreneurially on the surface level. This episode will set the stage for future episodes of us each individually focusing on these three topics. So, guys, welcome back to another episode. What have you guys done this week? Sean, want to kick it off?
This has been a crazy week. I'll tell you what. I moved into my new house on Saturday. I spent all the week pretty much at the house till like midnight or so, 1 o'clock each night, finishing painting, getting flooring put in. All like it's been nonstop grind, and I'm tired. I'm worn out. I need a break. But you got to keep going because now I
Mhm.
got to get my old house ready for tenants moving in on August 1st. So house hacking 101, buying, living in it for a few years, moving out, renting it out. So
Mhm.
it's been a blur, but I'm sure you guys had a lot on your plates this week as well.
Yeah, I'm sure you're blasting some Bigger Pockets podcast or something while you're painting or putting some flooring in as well. Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure. Yanko, what about you?
Yeah, no, for me, I just been doing a lot of like self-reflection and doing a lot of personal development in not only the finance space, or not the finance space, the fitness space, I should say, but then also doing a lot of like self-reflection just by walking. Like I walk a lot, especially like really nice weather outside recently.
Mhm.
Listening to the 4 Hour Work Week, Timothy Ferriss, I'm not mistaken, great book.
Oh.
And I've really kind of been thinking about what's kind of to come in my future in terms of career, financially, network wise. It's been super interesting. So this last week did a lot of that, as well as actually just recently got my suits, like multiple suits tailored, because I'm getting ready for the standard Miami experience trip that's coming late July. So I'm super excited about that. But it was my first time getting my suit tailored, so it was a new experience, and it wasn't really that expensive. So I'm looking forward to getting some more things tailored in the future, to my body.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
that's awesome. I'm getting married in November, so I'm right there with you. I'm having to get a suit tailored here pretty soon as well.
Yeah,
And yeah, that's really good. I think some time set aside for some kind of introspective thinking is really important. Nowadays, most people are glued to their phone constantly and being entertained, not having to put any cognitive ability themselves into what's going on around them. Um, so
right.
great. Yeah, glad you guys are keeping busy these weeks.
Yeah, how about
I've
yourself?
been so this week, outside of my day job, uh, I've been trying to do Amazon FBA for a while, right? I know I've talked to Sean a little bit about this, and man, you have to jump through some hoops to get approved to sell. You got to get in the account on Amazon. You got to jump through some hoops. Getting if you want to create a brand, which most people recommend doing, you have to get the brand approved. You have to go through the supplier wherever you're sourcing the product from. So I'm in the late stages of this, getting the brand approved, and hopefully, my smart goal is in July to place an order from my supplier to actually get a listing on Amazon and get something up. Then I'll be
That's
able to,
awesome.
hopefully start selling some products and see how it goes. So, kind of talking with Amazon and going back and forth, jumping through hoops was my week. So, kind of
That's
to kick this
awesome.
off, we want to go through individually what led us or kind of the beginnings of kind of each of our stories, how we got into where we are now, into the financial space, into the Financial Literacy Institute. Why do we like finances? Why do we want to help people with this? Why are we interested in it, right? So with me personally, I started out later than I would have liked, all through my, I guess, late childhood, teenage years, I had, a financial consciousness. I knew what money was. I knew I had to save up for it eventually. But there was a lot of smoke and mirrors. I always thought, oh, I'll retire early. FIRE is something I've, learned about recently. Um, and while I didn't know that term back then, I always assumed I'm built different. I'll retire early. I'm not waiting until I'm 65. No, it's just,
Right, right.
that's just how it worked. So when I got out of college and accepted my first full time offer, kind of jumping ahead here a little bit, that's when it really clicked for me. I got the offer. It said, you're getting paid X amount of dollars every year. That cleared up all the smoke and mirrors. In college, money was for food and gas. And if I am short a little bit money, I'll pick up an extra shift here or there. I'll put on my credit card. I have 10 days, to come up with that money. I would try to limit myself, so I'm not going the full 30 days or something. I never carried a balance. Be
And
responsible with your
beer too.
credit
You
cards.
can't forget beer.
Yes, beer, exactly. It's college, right? So
Right.
money is for beer, gas, and food.
Drink
So
responsibly, kids.
exactly. So getting out of college, and realizing, hey, I'm on my own now. I have a finite amount of money getting paid to me every 2 weeks. I need to figure out where to put this. So that was really when it clicked to me, that I need to be financially literate, financially conscious. Up through high school, kind of rewinding a little bit, I had, every high school kid wants money. And even then, money is even more for food and just having fun. And that's all it's for. So every, once in a while, I talk to my dad or my grandpa and they say, you're, getting to the age where starting an IRA or something right now could be really advantageous for you. And, that kind of sparked a bug in me. And at one point I don't know how old I was, probably 18, 19. I got an appointment set up with my parents' financial planner and he got me set up with an IRA. And, I would toss so little amount per month in there, but I had one open. But even then, I still was conscious of it, but I didn't have kind of that desire, that burn that, I really need to get a grasp on this. And that continued up through college. And then I gained the tools in college at a co-op I had. I crossed paths with one of the company's accountants. He gave me an Excel sheet that he had been working on, a budget sheet, which I've talked about a couple times up to this point. And I still, to this day, go in there. I edit stuff. I've been adding calculators, kind of a retirement projection into there. And at that point, I had the tools, right? I still didn't have the desire, and I didn't get the desire until I graduated college and said, oh, shit, I have this much money left, right? So that was kind of the path I took. So leading up to now, I gained the tools in college. I gained the fire and the motivation just out of college. And ever since, I'm about a year out, and I've been trying my butt off to, 1, budget, and 2, make more money. That's kind of the big thing that clicked for me, is that you can only get more money in 2 ways: budget more and make more. So yeah, spend less or make more. And the spending less is the easier one, but you can only pinch pennies so far. So making more is where I've been putting most of my effort so far. That's kind of a surface level overview from 10,000 feet of my story so far. Hopefully soon, I'll have some more to talk about. Got a couple irons in the fire. Some of the little side things I do, and I mentioned Amazon FBA, right? That's by any means not the first thing I've done to try to make money. I've done a couple things before. This one is where I'm focusing my head now. And through the few things I have done up to this point, I've learned that kind of the granddaddy of all of these things, of making money on the side and eventually quitting your 9-to-5 and working for yourself, the granddaddy of all of those things is real estate, right? Real estate's the most certain thing that you can invest into. Probably more certain than the stock market, right? People always need somewhere to live. Up until Elon Musk puts us on Mars, we only have one planet to live on, right? So when that happens, I don't know, maybe we'll have some sort of real estate crash, but that's probably not going to happen too soon. So that's another thing that I'm really trying to dip my toes in and learn about, because real estate is, you got to put some time in up front, right, to learn about it, to learn the ins and outs, learn why you want to do it, learn how to do it. And so that's kind of my projection looking forward. I'm working on the Amazon FBA. I'm working on the real estate, hopefully pretty soon. Looking to get a couple properties. First one hopefully will be for my fiance and I, home for ourselves, maybe a live and flip or something like that. So,
attaboy.
Yeah, so that's the idea. That's my plan right now.
Now, Zach, let me ask you this. When you were growing up, you said that you dipped your toes a little bit in like understanding finances and a little bit of education. And who would you say in your life had the biggest impact on you during that stage?
That's a really good question, Sean. So I had a couple people. Obviously my dad was kind of an influence in there. It was really no one person that had the biggest influence. I mean, my dad and my grandpa are probably the biggest two. They would always push me in the right direction. They'd say, whenever I'm spending money or doing anything with money, they would give me little tidbits of advice that were very valuable. And I wouldn't be here in the position I am today without them, by far. They were both, them two were the ones that got me started. My IRA, I was able to hook up with my dad's financial planner. Every once in a while my grandpa would give me tidbits of advice, and he was one who really kicked me in the butt to go badger my parents to get me an appointment set up, right, with a financial planner. So my parents, my grandparents, running into, that accountant at my co-op job really did a number too, because he gave me some good advice as well. And actually meeting with someone under my own power who had lots of good advice to give and good tools to give, was absolutely influential in where I am today and the direction I've taken since then, for sure.
And Zach, I think that there's a lesson in what you just said, and it ties into what Yinka opened up with, what he's been going on this week, and that's the self-reflection. And within self-reflection, if we take time to look back, maybe it's 10, 15 years, or when we were in high school, junior high, college, that type of thing. But looking back and seeing the people that helped you along the way, and it could have been education, it could have been lending you money, it could have been stuff like that, but there's a blessing in all the people that kind of guided us along the way. And one of the greatest things that we can do when we're doing self-reflection is reach out to those people and just send them a text or give them a call and just say like, hey, I appreciate you. And they'll usually respond with like, what are you talking about? And then you can just tell them like, I was thinking about when you did this, this, and this when we were younger, and I can't begin to explain the impact that has had on my life. So I just want to thank you for everything that you've done.
Yeah, that goes a long way. That's powerful. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So my parents did an incredible, amount of things to help put me through college. I wasn't able to pay for college entirely myself. They were able to lend me some money. So some of my loans, the little that I have left, some are government, some are to them. So I'm, forever grateful for the effort they put into helping me through college and put me where I am today. Definitely. Letting people know when you are grateful and when you appreciate them is, something that you wish you would have done if you hadn't, when you can't. That's for sure.
Practice an attitude of gratitude.
100%.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah, that about wraps up my story up to now on a surface level. Which one of you guys wants to take over next? I'm interested to hear.
Go for it.
Yeah, I'll take it. First off, that was a beautiful story, Zach, and I'm excited to tap into that at depth, in the next episode. Super excited. I'm gonna try my best. You know me, everybody knows me where I talk a lot, so I'm gonna try my best to keep it concise. But here we go, a little story time, right? Oh, this is great. I'm so glad we're doing this episode. Let's go way back. Let's do a little short story, right? Because at the crux of everything I'm about to say, money was not talked about in my house. It was not. If anything, it was like, we don't speak about money, or only like people who like the love for money is evil, or the root of love, the money is evil, or all these kinds of like just terms, right? That has one thinking that money has a negative connotation tied to it, right? And what was very interesting about that is that it's like, I love my parents. I would never change the way I was raised, but the way that they handled their money, I'm like, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't a way that I knew I was going to do it in the future. And the things they were saying, I'm like, I can't really 100% get behind that because you guys aren't doing it in a way that I feel like would be more productive. So that's kind of like, again, a higher level of it just really wasn't talked about in my house. But again, quick little story time. Probably like, oh, this is funny. Sophomore year of high school. Oh my goodness. Had a girlfriend at the time, and I had no idea what like money had the power to actually do. I just thought it was, some intermediary or just some vehicle that you like, once you earn it, you spend it, right? Because again, another thing that was talked about is you keep it in your checking account for too long, the government can come and try to take it for some reason. Like, what I'm saying? Those kinds of conversations. So I'm just like, okay, you earn the money, we had a job at the time, and you're supposed to send it or spend it because you're not supposed to keep it. Who knows what's going to happen to it? Crazy thinking. But my thing was, all right, cool. This is going to be it was around Christmas time. This is going to be my first Christmas with my amazing girlfriend at the time. I want to treat her so right. I'm like, all right. I asked her what her, her wish list was for, or Christmas list was for Christmas. She gave me all these things. And I'm like, I thought I was a baller back then. I thought $500 was not only what did I think it was a lot of money, but I also didn't know that like it was a lot of money. If that made any sense at all. Like, oh, I can do a lot of things with this. But then also too, like, you can do a lot of things with this. So like, maybe not just don't spend it foolishly. Didn't think about that like that. All I knew is that, oh, I can just spend what I can buy a lot of things with $500. So I'm going to buy her almost every single thing on this Christmas list. And came Christmas time, probably like 3 days before, I went to the Mall of America here in Minnesota. I picked up like 12 items out, basically everything on her Christmas list. Again, about $500 worth. I was like, I'm going to be the boyfriend of a lifetime. Crazy. I kid you not, the day before Christmas Eve, I'm hanging out probably at a friend's house, whatever. And mind you, so the day again, you'll see where I'm going with this. The day I purchased all these Christmas gifts, I keep them in my room. I keep them hidden because like I don't want my parents to know, right? And I keep the receipt even more hidden. I was crazy. I was stupid. And Christmas Eve, I come home from the friend's house and I notice like the receipt was just missing. I don't know why. What told me to kind of look for the receipt that day? I just knew it was missing. I was like, oh, that's not good. So I was kind of like looking for it, and I kid you not, that night, like my mother called me into the living room. She's like, Yinka, come here. Dad, quiet. And when Dad's quiet, you know something's wrong. Yinka, come here, take a seat. I was like, oh, okay. They probably have the receipt. I thought about it, and they just gave me a whole like rundown on not only why you shouldn't do this for a girl you've been dating for less than a month, 2 months, right? But then also to like now like a money conversation, something I've never had in my life, but it had to take something like that to have a money conversation. And I was like, wow, okay, my parents are finally teaching me something a little bit about money where you can actually do bigger things than that. So just a little backstory on that and why I had no idea, the power of money back then, and I was foolish to think I was going to be boyfriend of the year. Nonetheless, so that's a little funny story. Now let's kind of get into where kind of that was bar was set low, where it kind of went higher from that.
And I thought where you were going with that was she was gonna break up with you on Christmas Eve, and then you're gonna have to return everything, but you lost the receipt.
Yeah, no, yep, no. Let me no, you're funny. Let me say kind of the ending story of that. I returned, I think, all but like 2 items, which cost less than like $50. Like I think a pair of jeans and maybe like a shirt or something. And she ended up loving it. So I actually kind of learned from that. And it's like, you don't really, again, that was the relationship aspect. You don't need to buy your significant other absolutely everything. It's the true things that matter. But again, the more learning was from the money aspect. But no, it all ended good. But the only thing it did is I'm not with her anymore. But that's neither here nor there. Nonetheless, kind of moving on, several years later into my life, let's go into college. It was really high school again, just like Zach mentioned. Yes, we all had jobs back then. At least I can speak for myself. But the money was just like for gas, for some car payments, hanging out with friends. I wasn't really taking it as seriously as Zach might have mentioned, as I wish I had when I was younger, right? But then going to college and like the most significant period was probably sophomore year for 2 reasons. Number one, that was the year I became an RA, and being an RA, I didn't, because I'm an out-of-state student for University of Akron, right? So I have to pay out-of-state tuition. I have to pay, I don't have a place to live there, so I have to find, a place to live, and probably gonna be on campus where it's super expensive. And again, I also don't have a place to live and a consistent place to eat, so I have to probably eat on campus. It was stupid expensive my freshman year. My sophomore year, I applied to be an RA, which is a huge play. For anybody listening pre-college or you're in college, become an RA. Huge plug because you capitalize on your leadership skills. It's fun. It's a great resume builder, but you get subsidized housing and meal plan. Absolute play of like the whole college career of mine. So I was able to, from my sophomore year, because I did accrue debt my freshman year, still paying that off. My goal, just like Zach mentioned as well, is to pay that off actually ASAP before I graduate next year spring. I'm super excited about that. But that was the play of the whole college career, because now from sophomore, 4 years later, now in my 5th year, University of Akron 5-year engineering program, I'm not paying any housing fees or housing. I don't have to pay meal plan because both those are covered by an RA. And then 2, now I'm really tapping into like the scholarship system, and I'm having all these scholarships pay for almost everything else, if not everything else. And I'm actually getting paid to go to school. So again, where I'm going with this is I was now understanding the power of like being able to use your skills, because I'm, as you see, I'm a great like people person, great talker, great leader. And I use those skills to, kind of use that through the RA position. And I loved it. And I was getting paid for it. It was great. But now I'm getting refunds from the school because I'm getting everything paid for. Scholarships are overflowing. I'm getting refunds. And now I'm stacking that money and I want to do something with it, but I don't know what to do just yet, right? So now going into, I think, the end of sophomore spring, COVID hits, right? I'm pretty sure that was 2020. This was an absolute game changer for me because I took the time to learn things that school does not teach you. Because classes were canceled, we were sent home from school, events were canceled, we were on lockdown. I wasn't the type to just hop on the game. I'm not saying this is bad, but I wasn't really just the type to hop on the game and play, with all this free time or, just do things that aren't really productive with the free time. I knew I've always known I wanted to do this. I tried to talk to people, my brothers, some, mentors about investing, and nobody really had a clear answer. So I'm like, hey, I actually have time now, which is something I've always, complained about. I never have time. I have time now. I tapped into some serious books. I tapped into this content creator called Anthony O'Neill. This is one of Dave Ramsey's older personalities. I think he dropped the Ramsey Solutions personality title, I think about a year ago. But I really started tapping into his content because he's an amazing individual who not only looks like me, but then like teaches it in such a way that is like cool and what's not streamlined, what's the term? But it's like everybody can kind of get with it. It's like, okay, it's not just some older, doesn't matter what the race. It's not just some older person trying to teach me something, and I'm like, he's older, he's wiser, and he's not going through what I'm going through. No, this is someone who's relatable, right? So I really doubled down on his content. I got a couple of his books. I think Debt Free Degree, and then I think the 5 Common Mistakes of College Debt or something like that. 2 really good books. Short reads too. I recommend those. And I was like, wow, I'm really learning a lot about these things through this individual who I trust, and I loved it. And I loved it so much that I believe it was interesting because this was like a little bit before COVID where I started tapping into it, but I doubled down through COVID. I was a part of ZPN, Zips Programming Network. Actually, no, this was junior year. That's right. This was junior year. This is when we came back. I was a part of Zips Programming Network, and I contracted this guy. And it took like 7 months to actually like reach out to him. I was the programs chair for ZPN. I'm like, I want this guy to influence a bunch of people on the University of Akron campus like he influenced me. And I have the monetary power of ZPN. I'm going to try my best to reach out to him and contract him. After 7 months of just diligent work of reaching out to this guy, Instagram, website, email, all the mediums, I finally got to him. It was on some like, automated text message. Like, text me, it's like a community text and everybody gets the same text. I'm like, just F it. Let me just try to text and say who I am and I would love to And within a day, got back to me and we set something up for February 9th. I will not forget the day. It was a virtual Zoom event because of COVID. Over, I think, 125 some students attended. And it wasn't new information to me because, again, I know everything about this guy, but he was just enlightening so many students at this Zoom that I kid you not. I think the event was about an hour. He was talking about, Dave Ramsey's 7 Baby Steps because, at the time he was a Ramsey Solution personality. But then he was just like talking in a way that was like cool. He had jive to him. Like people got down with what he was talking about. Like it wasn't just boring and talking about fun. No, it was like I'm telling him some real stories. Like if you look this guy up, he, I believe, was homeless for several months, living in a Walmart parking lot in his car in Ocean something, California. And he was just, hitting rock bottom, and because he's very much a believer of God. And I love that about him. He almost had the opportunity to like take his life. Right. And he was at the most low of all lows. Now, I'm not saying that's something I can relate to, but the fact that he's real about that and he's able to, talk to people about that and be so, candid about his life, I'm like, this guy, I can trust that. And then ever since from there, I believe he said one of his uncles put him on to Dave Ramsey, and that's who became his mentor and eventually the person he worked for. He has just gone completely up, and he's doing amazing things. Anthony O'Neill again, right? But from what I learned from that event is that literally the next day, clear example, there was this girl who came up to me. I think I was like sitting behind a desk because, again, I was an RA and you have to sit behind desks to allow people to walk in the buildings. This girl came up to me, had no idea who this girl was. Girl came up to me, she's like, "Are you Yinka?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Your Anthony O'Neill event last night was the most amazing event I've ever had here on campus. And I kid you not, I spent an hour with my family right after that to set up a Roth IRA." And I'm like, number one, thank you so much for attending. And number two, like, you just probably change your family tree just by like not only coming to the event, but actually making changes, because people can come to events, but if you don't take action, that means jack nothing. And she took action, and I can only imagine how many other people took action. So I'm like, wow, people need to like know about these things, right? So again, let's progress a little bit further into the journey. As again, at this time, junior year kind of wraps up, and again, still kind of COVID, like classes are more virtual than they are in person. I'm tapping into a lot of crazy books, and I'm really getting interested in like audiobook listening, right? So I'm listening to the Psychology of Money, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the I Will Teach You to Be Rich, like all these niche financial literacy type books. And these kinds of books, the fact that they give you tangible things to do right after you read them, that's the kind of books I love. And I kid you not, probably one of my favorite books in that niche or in that genre is I Will Teach You to Be Rich, because Ramit Sethi has like things that you can do right after you read. And one of the things I did, or one of the things I know I'm going to do is, I believe if you, for example, when I apply to my Amex Platinum card in the future, and I get all the bonus points or all the bonus miles or whatever I get through that, within a year, or within 2 years, I got what I wanted. I can downgrade to an Amex Blue. Things that you don't even know you can do, like just little tips and tricks. Like that's huge, and that's just one of many, right? But I'm just like, wow, these books are giving me so many dimes. I'm tapping into more. I'm tapping into more. I'm tapping into more. And I kid you not, I was always that friend to all the other friends who were like, guys, you need to read these books. Guys, you need to tap into these podcasts. Guys, you need to follow these influencers. Guys, you need to do this with your budget. Da, 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 da. And I wasn't really getting that many people to actually like follow the information. And that's probably because you can't, you know, you can only bring a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, right? So then what I chose to do, I'm like, okay, I'm going to capitalize on these skills. And what I'm going to do amongst all my organizations on campus, like Biomedical Engineering Society, National Society of Black Engineers, and multiple other organizations I was a part of, I'm going to take a lot of these skills and I'm actually going to elevate them by giving free presentations to a lot of my, you know, groups of organizations I'm a part of. So I would always dress nice. I would always like almost every Friday evening in my, actually this last year, almost every Friday evening in the fall, I would have some sort of presentation on SMART goals, on time management, on financial literacy, on resume workshops, on, you know, LinkedIn workshops, on all these kinds of things that people I feel like need. And if they take the information or not, cool. But for me, I'm chiseling on my, you know, social skills, on my leadership skills, on my public speaking skills, and I look good. Like, come on now, right? So I'm really building myself up, and it's great. And I'm seeing changes. One of the big things I forgot to mention too, as I'm going to wrap this up here pretty soon, is one of the big milestones for me financially, which really gave me a lot of like understanding, like, wow, Yinka, this is some real stuff. Let's go back to junior year for a second, right? This was the year, again, I was in ZPN, I was an RA, and I worked Chipotle. So I worked 3 jobs junior year, and I was a college student, I think it was like 16 credit hours. Nonetheless, every week I worked probably 28 hours. No, that can't be right. Oh yeah, I think 20, it was like right under the threshold that you can work as a student, right? 28 hours, kid you not. I was grinding, making this money, stacking it. But I was also working Chipotle on the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, sacrificing 9 hours out of every day. So that's 18 hours per weekend. I think it was like from, again, I don't know the math quick off my head, but from 5 a.m. to I think 3, whatever that math. I don't know if that's 9 hours, quick math, whatever. Every single weekend. Friends would ask me to go out, hang out, do things. I'm like, nope, I'm busy. Every weekend, right? What was really cool is Chipotle did tuition reimbursement. So I was actually not only making pretty good money on the side and getting, you know, food for free, but then I think at the end of every year, or even semester actually, because you have to hit a certain quota, you get a pretty hefty amount of tuition reimbursement, which actually goes straight to your checking account. You can use for anything. So that's another quick tip for people who are out there. Tap into companies or to, you know, tap into companies that have tuition reimbursement. Huge. But I'm like, one of the big things I knew I want to do, which I had a SMART goal for, going back to SMART goals, is I want to pay off my car. Because I'm like, I'm paying $232 every single month. And there are some months I pay more, but I pay the minimum every month. But I want to get this thing out of, you know, my payments. I want to free up this money. Because again, a lot of what these books say is that when you make when you pay off one of your debts, like the debt snowball for Dave Ramsey, now you're going to free up the money to do more things. So from, I believe it was January, spring semester of my junior year, right? Still, you know, kind of COVID era. So it was still virtual, but it wasn't completely virtual. And I took advantage of that time, right? From January to May, all of junior spring semester, junior spring semester, grinded. And I won't forget this date either. It was April 9th. So 2 months after exactly from Anthony O'Neill's event, I paid off my car payment. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that's freeing. I had a SMART goal by it. I wanted to pay it before the end of the semester. I absolutely did that. And now I have $232 absolutely free that I can do more things with. And luckily enough, a lot of these books were teaching me, and actually another great YouTuber like Anthony O'Neill, who's also a YouTuber, his name is Graham Stephan. He was teaching me about how to understand Roth IRAs. And as we all know, I'm the Roth IRA guy. I advocate Roth IRAs all day. Graham Stephan had a great breakdown of Roth IRAs, and I followed it. And now these $232 I'm freeing up, I'm just stacking it Roth IRA. I'm maxing it out. I'm looking into, you know, I think at the time I was tapping into Robinhood. I was buying stocks, just putting the money, the 232 that I was already paying, as if I'm paying it for the car, but I'm putting in other things now, right? It just makes so much sense. And then what's very interesting, again, as I wrap this up, is amongst everything I just said, these little tangible things that you can do, like the reading, the, budgeting. I guess I didn't fully mention that, but that's a whole nother thing, which I really tapped into and I got great at. But just like picking up, we're young, we're able bodies. I sacrificed 18 hours on my weekend. I was working the morning shifts where you had to like put the truck orders in the freezer. That sucked. My knees hurt every single night when it sucked. But I'm like, there's a bigger purpose here. And I'm not just going to slack off on this time. So I learned sweat equity and I learned grit. And I saw actual tangible results. Paid off my car. I'm making more money and I can do more things with that money, like invest or maybe buy nicer quality things, all these things. And I took these skills now going into my senior year, this fall semester, and I'm like, or when I say senior, I should say fourth year out of my 5 years. And again, I did a lot of these presentations to all these organizations, the things that I learned, and some people took it, some people didn't. But I'm like, hey, I'm polishing me. And that was the semester that I met Sean, talked about FLI, took a lot of these skills, put into FLI, and that's where we are today. And I'm only still polishing these skills, like just getting better, brighter, stronger financially. Sean's teaching me things, Zach's teaching me things, vice versa. And you just have no idea like what kind of things you can do with the knowledge that you do have. And that's exactly what I did. I gained that knowledge, I gained the skills, capitalized on those skills, and that's exactly where I am today. So it was just a great journey from not absolutely talking about money at all to like, I'm going to teach myself this because my parents, my family didn't teach it. If anything, they taught me not to talk about it. And two, school doesn't teach it to you, but yet you need to learn how to do it, right? And it was so interesting because I've just seen life change and my confidence has gained, or my confidence has increased significantly from the things that I've done. And that's why I actually now have a passion in it and obviously working at FLI with it too. So no, amazing journey. And I don't even know if that was 50 minutes or not, but I kid you not, like finance is so interesting to me. It's all just a game. Like it's super fun. And that's exactly why I'm here with FLI. I want to kind of teach more people about this.
And Yinka, what would you say is kind of like the general theme of the story you just told us in your life so far to this point?
General theme I would say is you are the author of your own story. And what I mean by that is I had people who were trying to write my story, maybe my parents, maybe society, maybe school, on some things that either you shouldn't learn about or we just don't talk about or whatever. It's like, well, I'm going to write my own story and I'm going to write it the way that I want it to turn out. And you have no idea where that's going to head, like, where you're going to go in life. But the thing is, now you're writing it. And that's what's so beautiful about it. And if I didn't write it, I don't know where I'd be. And I don't think I'd be in a better place. I'm not saying I'd be in a terrible place because I know I'm a guy who makes really good decisions. But I really just took life by the horns and I started to do things my way. And I started to, not listen to the conformities of parents or school or society, and really just broke out of like the rat race, quote unquote, right? So it's really just author of your own life. I think that is the main story here. And just life has blossomed when I just started writing it myself. It's been hard. I cannot sit here and say it's been easy because I'd be lying to you. But again, one of my quotes is, you put in the work, you get the results. And everything I just told you, I've been putting in the work and I've been seeing the results.
I love it. That's beautiful.
No, thank you. Appreciate you.
Yeah, but Linka, wonderful story. Good to hear about it. Looking forward to hear your episode, delving even deeper on into your experiences and where you plan to go from here.
100%.
For sure. So Sean, what do you got for us?
All right, I'll knock this out nice, short, and sweet, and leave a little bit to tease going
All right.
forward. So I kind of want to my general, I guess, theme of my life so far is I like to call it accidental purpose. And honestly, my plan is to write a book someday about this, and I think that's going to be the title. So stay tuned. 5 years, 10 years down the road, once Zach and I get our pilot's license, then I'll write my book. But it's like everything that or everything or everywhere I've ended up in life has kind of happened by accident. Like I've been intentional with how I want things to go, but I was intentional aimed at something a little bit different than how it actually ended up, because I'm a serial planner and I plan everything to the T. But even if things do go as planned, there's like added benefits to them. And I think that could tie into like, if you're a good person, good things happen to you, whole type of thing. And I fully believe that 100%. But if I like start back when I was younger, my family, they helped me understand the concept of money from a young age. And that was through like incentives. So they basically told me, if you did this work, we'll pay you chore money, whatever. If you want to take out a bush, we'll pay you $10, like grunt work type of manual labor. And that was great because I did all the grunt work I possibly could. And kind of like what Yinka said too, where friends were out partying and everything, I was at work or I was doing extra jobs to make more money. So money was always a very important thing to me. And I didn't really understand like the purpose of it. We kind of talked about it like with my family when I was growing up, but it was never like sitting down and going through like my parents make this much, this is what they do with their money type of thing. So it was like understanding like, okay, we are comfortable, but I don't understand like how that goes to play. So I had to do a lot of this research myself. And that really started my senior year of high school into, the beginning of college. And when I was in college, my freshman year, I worked at the grocery store bagging groceries. Bueller's, shout out to everybody at Bueller's. But and into my first year of college, I didn't really like driving home every weekend to go work 8, 9, 10-hour shifts. So I started looking for a job in Akron. When I moved into the apartment, my sophomore year, I went down to the office, told them I wanted a job there. I want to work for you guys. And after they hired me, it really brought me into the realm of real estate and managing a property and dealing with tenants. I learned what to do, but also a lot of what not to do. And I thought like, okay, this is great because I want to do sales and I'm learning how to sell. I'm learning how to give presentations, pitches, stuff like that, which is phenomenal. But I didn't understand like the underlying benefit of it was that I'm understanding how the real estate process works. And that has benefited me so much more where I'm at now because I was thrown into the fire in a 144 unit multifamily student housing complex, which if you compare that to managing one single family rental or two single family rentals, it's a whole lot different. So I also learned that I don't ever want to do large student multifamily. But doing that job, my original intention was to get sales experience, but I also gain real estate experience. And now if I look at my full-time job at Air Control Products, my original intention was to do engineering type technical sales. But I've also made plenty of valuable relationships in the engineering community, but also in the construction community. And as I dive more into real estate, I'm learning, okay, commercial is really where you can get the best ROI and you can bring in partners, you can do syndications, you can get a lot of money on the table to put these projects together. So in doing that, I realized that my connections and what I've learned about the HVAC industry and about the construction industry will allow me to ease into commercial much easier than if I would have just gone baptism by fire trying to do it myself. So, and there's plenty of other stories that I could dive into too, but those are really the two big ones about how I accidentally, figured out what I want to do long term and have accidentally found ways that I could make a lot of money. And I could go into the detailing business. I've always had the entrepreneurial type aspect. I knew since I was a freshman in high school that I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to run a company, stuff like that. But I had no idea how I was going to do it. In engineering school, they beat into your head that you need to design and develop a product. Products are what sell. Products are how you make companies lots of money. But and this is a big thing I see both on Bigger Pockets and from Cody Sanchez talking about boring businesses. Boring businesses are in the service type industry, stuff that people don't want to do. So like a detailing business is a boring business. It isn't that difficult to operate. It's not that difficult to detail a car. And if you can run a boring business like that, you don't need to have innovative products, but you need to be able to do things better than other people. And that's customer service, operations, all that kind of stuff. So, the opportunity I've had to run my own business and deal with customers, put on a web or put a website together, build a Google profile, marketing, advertising, paying employees. It's been a phenomenal experience that I can then take into other businesses and scale up from there because the general process and the general foundation is the same. And once again, that was an added benefit that I initially did not anticipate. I went into the detailing business trying to make extra cash because when I quit my apartment job, I had 30, 40 hours left in my week to do something with. But the experience and knowledge I've gained will translate into other businesses, real estate, and any other businesses that I start with friends down the road. So I think the biggest message I want to give to people, and this is what I want my book to talk about, is that although you may have a plan and a goal of what you want to do right now, chances are there's going to be some added benefits to what you're doing. And when you get to that top of the mountain type peak success moment that you didn't even intend to get or even realize were there, but they ended up paying you way more of a benefit than the actual goal you set in the first place. So, kind of in a long winded way, accidental purpose, think about the things that you may not be focusing on that provide value to your life.
Gotcha.
Wow.
That's phenomenal. Yeah. So Sean, you asked Yinka what the theme was of his story. I think accidental purpose is probably the theme of yours.
100%.
Gotcha.
I love it.
That's awesome. Very cool, guys. So as we wrap up here, I want to thank you for tuning in. We hope that you were able to learn a little bit and get motivated from our stories. You can find me at Zioen22 at both Instagram and LinkedIn. Yinka, what about you?
Yeah, my full name, Olayinka Famadu, I believe it has the dot under it. But again, it's on our website as well. So if you just scroll down, I think all of our LinkedIns are there.
Mm-hmm.
You can find me on social media at Sean Lacey7 everywhere. And then Sean Lacey on LinkedIn. Make sure to send me that connection request. I'd love to help you out in any way I can.
Gotcha. And this is On the Fly Podcast. Thanks for listening.